In the heart of the African savannah, in a small village named Nyanza, there lived a boy named Kofi. He was known throughout the village for his curiosity and adventurous spirit. His father was a skilled farmer and his mother was a talented weaver. They lived a simple but content life, surrounded by the vibrant community and the vast open landscape of their homeland. One hot afternoon, as the sun cast long shadows across the earth, Kofi's grandmother, Nana Ya, called him over to her side. She was the village storyteller, and her tales were legendary, filled with wisdom and wonder. Today she had a special story to share, one that had been passed down through generations. "Kofi," she began, her voice a gentle whisper, "do you see that mighty baobab tree standing tall at the edge of the village? There is a legend that goes with that tree, a story of bravery, kindness, and the magic that binds our land." Kofi's eyes widened with excitement as he settled down next to his grandmother, ready to listen. "Many, many years ago," Nanaya continued, "our village was plagued by a severe drought. The rivers dried up, the crops withered, and the animals disappeared. The villagers were desperate, for without water there was no hope of survival. In those days, there was a wise and benevolent spirit named Ntu, who watched over the land. Ntu saw the suffering of the people and decided to help them. But Ntu was bound by the laws of the spirits. He could not intervene directly. Instead, he sought a champion among the villagers, someone pure of heart and brave enough to undertake a perilous journey. In the village lived a young boy named Kwame. He was kind and always willing to help others, even though he had little himself. One night, Ntu appeared to Kwame in a dream. The spirit told him of a hidden spring deep in the forest, a spring that could bring water back to the village. But the journey to the spring was fraught with dangers and trials that tested one's courage and resolve. Kwame did not hesitate. He knew he had to save his village. With his parents' blessings and a small bag of provisions, he set off at dawn. As he ventured deeper into the forest, he encountered many challenges. He faced fierce animals, treacherous paths, and a labyrinth of thorny bushes. But Kwame's determination never wavered. Kwame's journey through the forest was filled with peril. On the first day, he encountered a group of baboons. The baboons were curious and aggressive, but Kwame remembered his grandmother's stories about the animals of the forest. He knew that showing fear would only provoke them. Instead, he calmly offered them some of the dried fruit he carried. The baboons, appeased by his offering, allowed him to pass. The next day, Kwame came across a narrow path flanked by thorny bushes. The thorns were sharp and could easily tear through his clothes and skin. He took his time, carefully navigating the path, using a stick to push the thorns aside. By the time he emerged on the other side, his arms were scratched, but his spirit remained unbroken. On the third day, Kwame reached a dense part of the forest. The trees were so thick that they blocked out the sunlight. As he made his way through the dark forest, he heard strange noises and saw glowing eyes in the shadows. Remembering Ntu's advice, Kwame closed his eyes and focused on the spirit's words. The fears melted away, and he walked confidently through the darkness, emerging into a clearing where the ancient baobab tree stood. According to Ntu's instructions, Kwame had to find a way to communicate with the spirit of the tree. He sat under its massive branches and closed his eyes, focusing on the stories his grandmother had told him about the tree's magic. Hours passed, and just as the sun was about to set, Kwame heard a faint whisper in the wind. It was the spirit of the baobab tree. "Young Kwame," it said, "you have shown great bravery and perseverance. The spring you seek lies beneath my roots. Dig carefully and you will find the water that will save your people." Kwame dug with all his might, and soon clear, fresh water began to gush from the ground. He filled his container and hurried back to the village. The journey back was no less challenging, but Kwame's heart was light with hope and joy. When he returned to Nyanza, the villagers rejoiced. The water revived the land, and soon the fields were green again and the rivers flowed. Kwame was hailed as a hero, and the baobab tree became a symbol of hope and resilience. Remember, Kofi, Nanaya concluded, the baobab tree still stands tall, watching over us. It reminds us that even in the darkest times, courage, kindness, and determination can bring light and life. Never forget the spirit of Kwame and the magic of the baobab tree. Inspired by his grandmother's story, Kofi decided to explore the forest himself. One day, he packed some food and water and set off towards the ancient baobab tree. Along the way, he met various animals, each with its own tale to tell. He helped a wounded antelope, shared his food with a hungry monkey, and listened to the songs of the birds. When Kofi finally reached the baobab tree, he sat under its shade and closed his eyes, just like Kwame had done. He felt a sense of peace and connection to the past. Although he did not find a hidden spring or face the same trials, Kofi returned home with a heart full of stories and a deeper understanding of his heritage. Days turned into weeks, and Kofi continued his explorations. He found new paths through the forest and discovered hidden glades filled with wildflowers and butterflies. He befriended more animals, including a wise old tortoise named Tano, who shared ancient stories and wisdom with him. Tano became Kofi's guide, teaching him about the forest's secrets and the balance of nature. One day, while exploring a remote part of the forest, Kofi stumbled upon an old, overgrown trail. Intrigued, he followed it until he reached a clearing where he found remnants of an ancient village. The place was abandoned, but Kofi could feel its history and the stories it held. He spent hours exploring the ruins, imagining the lives of the people who once lived there. As Kofi delved deeper into the ruins, he discovered carvings on the stones that depicted a great ceremony around the baobab tree. He realized that this village had a special connection to the tree and its magic. Among the carvings, he found symbols that matched those on a pendant his grandmother always wore. Excited, Kofi rushed back to Nyanza to show Nanaya his discovery. She was astonished and revealed that the pendant had been passed down in their family for generations. It was said to hold the key to unlocking the tree's deepest magic. Nanaya and Kofi decided to visit the baobab tree together, carrying the pendant. Under the ancient baobab tree, Nanaya placed the pendant in a small hollow at the base of the trunk. The ground trembled slightly and a soft glow emanated from the tree. The spirit of the baobab tree appeared, speaking to both of them. "You have found the lost village and the pendant," the spirit said. "Your family has always been the guardian of the baobab's magic. With this pendant, you can awaken the tree's full power to protect the land and its people." Nanaya and Kofi felt a surge of pride and responsibility. They promised to safeguard the baobab tree and its magic for future generations. The spirit blessed them, and the tree's glow grew brighter, spreading warmth and light across the forest. With the baobab tree's magic awakened, Nyanza flourished. The land became even more fertile, the rivers flowed with crystal-clear water, and the animals thrived. The villagers celebrated their newfound prosperity and honored Kofi and Nanaya for their bravery and dedication. Kofi continued to explore the forest, learning more about its wonders and sharing his knowledge with the villagers. He became a respected figure in the village, known for his wisdom and kindness. The legend of Kwame and the baobab tree lived on, now enriched with Kofi's own adventures and discoveries. Years passed, and Kofi grew older. He married and had children of his own, passing down the stories and the wisdom of the baobab tree to them. Nanaya continued to share her tales, now with a new generation of eager listeners. One evening, as the sun set and the sky turned a deep orange, Kofi gathered his children and grandchildren under the baobab tree. He told them the story of Kwame's journey, the trials he faced, and the magic of the tree. He spoke of his own adventures and the lessons he learned from the forest and its inhabitants. And so, Kofi concluded, the spirit of the baobab tree